The standoff is still over, but the body count is still mounting. Find out more about the hostage situation in Mali coming up.
Some Paris attack suspects have been located, but some are still on the loose. An update coming up.
Jacksonville hasn't won back-to-back games in years. Did they finally break the slump? We'll have the highlights for you later.
And the weekend forecast looks great, but will the fair weather continue? Brian Jeffries has your update.
Hello, welcome to Newscene. I'm Sam Sandall.
And I'm Ruth Daggett. Thank you for joining us.
The hostage situation in Mali has ended. A group of Islamic extremists stormed the Radisson Blu Hotel armed with guns, grenades, and yelling "God is great." They took about 170 hostages made up of guests and staff. 30 escaped. When authorities raided the hotel, they freed the remaining hostages and a search found 21 bodies and 2 gunmen. An unspecified number of attackers remained holed up in the upper floors of the hotel. It is yet to be confirmed, but the group claiming responsibility is the Al-Qaeda-affiliated group Al-Morab Atoun.
The suspected mastermind behind the terrorist attacks in Paris is dead. 27-year-old Belgian national Abdelhamid Abaoud was killed Wednesday in a barrage of bullets. Evidence led police to the northern Paris suburb of Saint-Denis for a 7-hour standoff. Abaoud's cousin was killed in that confrontation when she blew up herself in a suicide vest. 8 other suspects were also taken into custody, and yesterday, Belgium officials conducted half a dozen raids focusing on the friends and family of Bilal al-Hadid, one of the Paris jihadists. Authorities are still conducting an international manhunt for 2 associates of Abaoud's who may have helped carry out the Paris attacks.
On last Wednesday, ISIS posted on the internet a picture of a bomb. This shows a soft drink can, a wire, and what appears to be a switch. The Russian government confirms it was the one that apparently brought down a plane over Egypt last month, killing 224 people on board. The Russian government is offering a $50 million reward for information about those who brought it down.
The number of deaths in last week's Paris attacks have risen from 129 to 130. French Prime Minister Manuel Valls announced this after the latest victims died in the hospital earlier today. Authorities say the number could keep rising as almost 100 people are still listed in critical condition. After the announcement, the French Senate voted to extend the national state of emergency an extra 3 months.
Meanwhile, President Obama slams the House for passing legislation that curbs Syrian immigration to the U.S. Mr. Obama says he feels the passage is a political knee-jerk reaction to the terrorist attacks in Paris. The president says he would veto such legislation.
The idea that somehow they pose a more significant threat than all the tourists who pour into the United States every single day, it just doesn't jive with reality. That's not what our law enforcement thinks. That's not what anybody who's looked at this problem thinks. They are already under much more scrutiny.
Mr. Obama says he expects the political rhetoric on the Paris tragedy will settle down. The House unanimously passes a bill that might make it tougher for Syrian refugees to enter the U.S. The bill easily passed with a 2/3 majority vote of 289 to 139 yesterday. 47 Democrats joined Republicans in approving the bill, which could override a presidential veto. The measure would put Obama's immigration program on hold. In September, Obama announced it would allow 10,000 Syrian refugees to enter the U.S. in 2016.
Local French citizens gathered in Balboa Park Monday to remember friends and families that were killed during the tragic attacks in Paris. Worcester Gaitan was there and filed this report.
Thank you, guys. What happened in Paris is a hard situation, not only for French community, but also for the entire world. The San Diego community sends their solidarity to the Paris in this tough time. Over 200 people gathered outside the House of France in Balboa Park in San Diego to remember.
The attack in France was horrible. I will never forget this tragic situation.
ISIS are evil. They do not represent peaceful Muslims.
Americans believe that an attack against France is a global threat.
Any attack that affects France in one way or another will affect us.
I knew something would happen with Syria and France, but not like that. I fear that will happen again.
There were dozens of speeches, everyone talking about how France need continuous support to reestablish peace.
We need to stay strong. They want us to live in fears, but we will not change our lifestyle.
Flowers, red wines, and candles were left behind as a symbol of solidarity in the most humble way to honor the memory of the many victims whose lives were lost or hurt during the bombing in Paris. I am Mr. Gaitan for Newscene. I want to highlight that the mastermind of the Paris attack was killed during a police riot in the French interior. The French interior ministers announced that the country will remain in state of emergency until January. Back to you at the studio. Thank you, Sam.
Thank you, Worcester. Hundreds paid tribute to the only U.S. victim of the Paris attacks. Noemi Gonzalez was one of 129 people killed on November 13th, and the only American citizen who is known to have been killed in the attack. She was one of 17 exchange students from California State University, Long Beach, who went to Paris as part of a semester abroad program. On Tuesday, Gonzalez was mourned by hundreds of people who came to a candle vigil at her former high school. A fund to support international study has been established to honor the memory of Noemi Gonzalez.
After the break, new bomb attacks were registered in less than 24 hours. Find out who the terrorists were.
And see how the AFC South's Lowdown Showdown turned out last night and who came out the winner.
Honorary Forest Ranger Betty White here to remind you to do your part to prevent all sparks that can cause a devastating wildfire. Secure any dragging vehicle chains. Dragging chains can spark, causing a wildfire along the freeway without you even knowing it. And did you know your lawnmower blade can strike a hidden rock in dry grass, which can cause a wildfire? And finally, don't park your vehicle over dry grass. A vehicle exhaust pipe is hot enough to spark a devastating wildfire. Don't be responsible for sending our firefighters into danger, especially the cute shirtless ones. He's my favorite. Remember, one less spark is one less wildfire. Visit our website for more information.
Nearly 30 people are dead after 2 bombs went off in Africa. 2 female suicide bombers entered a Nigerian marketplace just after 3 in the afternoon where the bombs were detonated. Nigerian officials say that women are often forced to become suicide bombers and commit these acts of terror. No terrorist organizations have taken responsibility for the attack, but it is expected that the extremist group Boko Haram is involved. This is not the first time the city of Kano has been targeted by the group. Soldiers in the area say Nigeria is ill-equipped to fight the reoccurring terrorism, even with their large budget.
Tijuana is going through its most violent year since 2010. Homicides surpassed last year's total. So far, they have registered 540 homicides in 2015, almost 50 more than 2014. Authorities informed recent killings involve dealers competing for drug consumers on certain neighborhoods. Even though some of the killings have occurred in public places, authorities insist tourists are not at risk.
5 Syrian men were detained in Honduras Wednesday. Police say the men were traveling with stolen passports from Greece and are currently being investigated. The men have not been linked to any terrorist groups, but are a few among the 12,000 foreigners who have tried to enter the country just this year.
More than half of the nation's governors say they oppose letting Syrian refugees into their states. 31 states and all but one have Republican governors. The announcement came after authorities revealed at least one of the suspects believed to be involved in the Paris terrorist attacks was a Syrian refugee. Only 1,500 Syrian refugees have been accepted into the U.S. since 2011, but the Obama administration announced in September that 10,000 Syrians will be allowed entry next year.
Salt Lake City elects its first openly gay mayor in a conservative state where the Mormon Church has a strong presence. On Tuesday, former Utah lawmaker Jackie Biscuppi took 52% of the vote against two-term incumbent Ralph Becker. Equality Utah says Biscuppi's victory sends a powerful message to all LGBTQ Utahns that their sexual orientation will never be a limitation to public service. Nearly 4,000 people left the Church of Latter-day Saints last Saturday. A crowd of protesters swelling into the thousands surrounded the Mormon temple in Salt Lake City to submit their official resignation letters. The mass exodus stems from a new policy that bans children of gay and lesbian couples from being baptized until they are adults and disavow same-sex marriage. In a tweet last week, Church President Thomas Monson addressed those who were contemplating leaving the church. I plead with you to avoid anything that will deprive you of your happiness here in mortality and eternal life in the world to come. Another protest is planned for tomorrow on the steps of the Utah State Capitol.
Smoking inside your home could lead to an eviction notice. That's right, the federal government proposed a smoking ban last week for residents in public housing. The ban would affect lit tobacco products in residences and indoor common areas and offices. The ban would also prohibit lit tobacco use 25 feet from any buildings. The public has 60 days to comment. The rule would go into effect 18 months after finalization.
Week 11 of the NFL action began Thursday night as the 2-7 Titans host the 3-6 Jaguars. In the battle of the AFC South bottom-dwelling teams, quarterback Blake Bortles edged out rookie Marcus Martoa in passing yards and touchdowns. In this defensive battle, Jacksonville held the Titans to just one touchdown, which wouldn't be enough for the win, elevating the Jaguars to their first back-to-back wins of the season. Final score, Jaguars 19, Titans 13.
The defending world champion Golden State Warriors traveled to Los Angeles to take on the LA Clippers. The Clippers looked like they had a lock on handing the undefeated Warriors their first loss of the 2015 season, leading by 3 fourth quarter as Chris Paul would find DeAndre Jordan for the Lob City connection and the 5-point lead. But Steph Curry wouldn't have it, hitting 3 after 3 after 3 to bring the Warriors back for a win and the best start in the franchise's history. Final score, 124-117 Warriors.
Amid extra security and a moment of silence to honor the Paris attacks, France's Wembley Stadium hosted the first game since the terrorist strike earlier this week. Fans supported the country with red, white, and blue blankets and face paint. The game was played to help heal and give a sense of normalcy to the region. Final score, England 2, France 0.
To help reduce the risk of concussions in youth soccer, the United A major sports network and comic book company are teaming up for a good cause. Marvel and ESPN are planning a new series to promote female athletes. The idea is to immortalize women's talents in comic book form. The books will illustrate U.S. women's national star Carly Lloyd, who brought victory in this year's FIFA World Cup. Next to Lloyd, you will see Carol Danvers, aka Captain Marvel. Other stars are planned in the future.
Earlier today, many students gathered at City College for the 10th Annual Student Success Day. Major League Baseball players Adam Jones and Quentin Berry kicked off the event for future students. Resource booths and workshops were also available. The purpose of this event is to inform new students about the resources available to assist in their success.
San Diego declares a local state of emergency in anticipation of El Nino. The current state of emergency allows the city to access state and federal funding. El Nino is predicted to be one of the strongest storms since 1997. Residents with questions about El Nino can check the San Diego City Council website for more information.
The City Council approves an increase to San Diego water rates. Customers will notice the rates go up as early as January when the water price increases about 10%. Mayor Kevin Faulkner says that the new funds will pay for two things: the replacement of old pipes and a system to recycle wastewater into drinking water. Not approving the increases would delay water infrastructure projects. If that happens, the city will be forced to spend $2 billion to upgrade the Point Loma wastewater treatment plant.
California State University faculty marched this week to demand a pay raise. They are proposing a 5% salary increase for all faculty members. The union says that salary increases are justified, given the fact that pay raises for campus residents were recently approved. More than 90% of the CSU faculty voted earlier this week to go on strike if negotiators do not reach an agreement.
Find out how the weather will look on Thanksgiving. Brian Jeffries has the full weather report.
And Adele's new album is out, but you won't be able to stream it anywhere. Find out why after the break.
At this point, education is the most important thing in your lives. The successes of tomorrow are built upon the actions of today.
It's Charles!
So anyway, I looked the principal right in the eye and said, all right, quit! So he says, I'm gonna fail. I said, I flunk, you flunk! And then, I give him one of these.
Just one question, Mr. Lessworth, one question. Lessworth, just one question, Mr. Lessworth. Just one question.
Chaz, what are your plans for the future?
Education lets you live your dreams, so you don't have to dream your lives.
Tough it out.
Stay in!
Getting ready for the holidays? We have a preview of what's in theaters for Thanksgiving.
And Ivany Villalobos is here to tell us what's going on in entertainment. Ivany.
Thank you, Ruth and Sam. Well, the popular show The Soup on E! Network is saying goodbye this year after 22 seasons. The show's host, comedian Joel McHale, made many of us laugh by making fun of the best and worst of reality. I like to say it's best known for dissing its own sister show, The Kardashians. The show premiered back in 1999 with the name Talk Soup with Greg Kinnear as the host. There were several others after him before McHale brought it back to life in the 2004 relaunch. You can catch the last episode, which airs December 18th.
We all have one enemy, and that's President Snow.
Part 2 takes us to the finale of the Hunger Games series. Katniss, Peeta, and Gale team up to defeat President Snow and liberate the citizens from their war-torn country. The future of millions depend on them as they embark on the most dangerous mission. The film is rated PG-13. Now, if you're looking to laugh instead of cry because the Hunger Games are over, the comedy film The Nightmare Before is out. Seth Rogen, Joseph Gordon-Levitt, and Anthony Mackie star in the film as a couple of buddies who end their dying annual Christmas Eve tradition, but with a bang. You can catch both films in theaters today. And hello, everyone, Adele's 25 album was released today. Have you heard it? Maybe, maybe not. For most, it's probably a maybe not, and that's because it ain't streaming anywhere. You won't catch it on YouTube either. According to the New York Times, since the singer decided not to release it on any streaming services like Apple Music and Spotify. That's because Adele's label wants to take a stand and fight against the pirating of music. Her single Hello from the 25 album became the first song to sell more than 1 million downloads in a week. You go, Adele. Now looking to start your weekend off with some fun? Well, this Saturday, the Museum of Man celebrates its 100th anniversary in Balboa Park. A gala party is set to celebrate the evolution of the institution. And for those who don't know, the Museum of Man just happens to be Balboa Park's first museum. So if you're planning on going, get your tickets now. They're still available, but are limited. You won't want to miss out on a once-in-a-lifetime centennial event. Well, that's it for now, guys. I'll send it back to you.
Thanks, Ivany. See how a determined college student handles a final exam under pressure. And it's not what you think.
And the sun is shining in San Diego, but regions of Washington State are pretty much underwater. Find out in your weekly weather forecast coming up.
It's time for weather. Let's see how the weather's looking for the holidays with Brian Jeffries.
Thanks a lot, Sam. So, I would like to give you the update for the weather going on for the holidays, but first I want to give you an update about what's going on in Washington State. Our coastal brothers to the north have been dealing with a lot of torrential rains that ended on Wednesday, and now they're dealt to pick up the debris. Trees are down, power outages everywhere. Over 200,000 people are without power. There were also several deaths. A lot of the community is coming together right now to help pick up all the stuff that's gone wrong, and it's had to be a community effort as there's flooding all over the area. But that's in Washington, and of course we know the weather is good down here in San Diego. But how long will it last? Well, you have the weekend at least. It's 74 today. I look to see it 78 tomorrow, and again 78 on Sunday. This will be our last taste of summer for us San Diegans, as next week will probably the weather tends to shift. We'll be looking, as you can see, the rest of the country, and the weather is pretty mild over on the West Coast and down south in the 70s and 80s. And on the East Coast, we have it's actually pretty temperate for this time of year as well, in the 50s and high 50s to low 60s most other places. As you can see up north, it's in the 20s and 30s as winter has already hit them quite hard. But like I said, as the weather changes, going into the holidays, there'll be a lot of traveling. You might think that it's good to stay in San Diego, but that's not going to be the case this time. As going back east, if you don't have a ticket to go back home and see your family, you might want to go ahead and get that because the weather back east is pretty good. It's going to be pretty good next week. Looking to see like the 50s and the 60s as the 50s and 60s will be over on the East Coast, and sun as mild weather and winds will be coming up through the East Coast of the Midwest. And on the West Coast, we'll see the weather will go down to about the weather should go down to about 50s and high 60s for the rest of the time that we're there. So get ready to drive safely and bundle up, because you'll need to get your North Face and your jackets and your sweaters ready, because the winds will be picking up over here on the on the West Coast. And we predict that will probably last for the foreseeable future. So you'll also, in the Midwest, the weather will be pretty temperate, but they're suspected to see storms all through the coastal plains, and even snow in the northern areas. And Thanksgiving, I know I'll be getting my food ready, so that should help you line your stomachs and help you stay warm inside next to a cozy fire. I expect everybody should do that. And that's about all the time I have for weather. Back to Sam and Ruth at the desk.
Thanks for that report, Brian. Oh, I'm thinking about skiing and my tummy being full. Sorry. One tough student let nothing stop her from completing an examination, even if that meant going into labor. That's right, folks. 21-year-old Demetrice Collins was ready to deliver her baby girl at a Macon, Georgia hospital, but told doctors, wait, she had to finish her online final first. Collins' sister posted this picture to Facebook saying, "This is what you call strong priorities. Contractions 3 minutes apart, and she still takes her psychology test. Demetrice and baby Tyler are doing just fine." Yeah.
And believe it or not, the holidays are here. City College will be closed next week in honor of Thanksgiving.
And all banks and government offices will also be closed for the holidays.
Do you have plans? Are you going out of town?
You know, I'm thinking, well, I'm going to be making 2 turkeys.
2?
2. Well, you know what? Buy one, get one free. Buy one, get one free. And you had to spend like $50, and I did.
Do you do like a Friendsgiving, or is it just family?
We're having friends and family.
Oh, all
yeah,
one.
Friends and family. So we're going to have lots of turkey. Have to have the, what do you call it? The homemade cranberry dressing.
Oh, my mom makes that. Yeah.
And don't forget the, you know, we've got stuffing, right? Stuffing,
Mashed
you gotta have some
potatoes.
stuffing.
Mashed potatoes and gravy. The gravy's my favorite.
It's gotta have some lumps in it.
Yeah. Well, not the gravy, the mashed potatoes.
Yes, the mashed potatoes have to have lumps.
You don't want lumpy gravy,
Yeah,
but lumpy mashed potatoes are fine.
Lumpy. Yeah, and it's gonna be really good. Right, yeah, you're here. Yeah, I mean, we didn't mean to ice you out of the conversation.
I'm very excited for the holidays. I always like to get that layover, that sleep after.
Oh, with the, what was that, the tryptophan?
And football.
Exactly, and football.
Well, thank you for watching this edition.
I'm Ruth Agate. We'll see you after the break. Take care.